kind of comes through them. Well, a similar thing happens with serving as a soul. And oddly enough, it often happens when one is at the end of one's tether, so to speak. The service that's given as a personality stays within the realm of one's capabilities and capacities and talents and doesn't really push one to the brink. But when you are serving as the soul, you are pushed beyond your personal, what you think is your personal capacity. You're asked to do something, or you're demanding of yourself that you perform at a level that you think is beyond your abilities. And often you'll hear of people who have achieved something really quite remarkable that they didn't know they could, and they'll say, I can't believe I was able to accomplish that. I think they found that they had to access the energy of the soul to carry them through. And they did, in fact, experience an inrush of energy and ability that was quite remarkable. And they've witnessed that.
Right, and it's, as it says in the opening thought, it's the spontaneous effect of soul contact. And when it is spontaneous, that's the first reaction that comes through. You're not sitting there thinking about, well, am I going to, what's in it for me if I serve this way? If I go work in this soup kitchen, what's in it for me? What am I going to get from it? If you start from that perspective, then it's going to be not a labor of love. It's going to be something you will hate. But if it is a spontaneous reaction, then it's something that's really coming through from the soul. The little self is out of the way, and all this energy flow that you just talked about is allowed to flow through, because it is spontaneous and there's nothing blocking it. That little self is not heading it off. It's not standing in the way of this very free-flowing inflow of soul energy, which is essentially love.
Yeah, the personality always weighs the odds. The separated, independent, isolated individual that we think we are has a tendency to weigh the odds and decide, what's in it for me? What will I gain from this? What will I lose from this? What's it going to cost me? Will I have enough time to do everything else I want? That's not true service, or it's of too mixed a motive to count. But the soul, like you say, is spontaneous. It sees need and endeavors to meet it. I think a really wonderful example of the law of service was in a movie I once saw. Did you ever see the movie Marvin's Room with Diane Keaton and Meryl Streep? It was about two sisters who were middle-aged. The sister, Diane Keaton, had been single all her life and devoted herself to the care of their father and aunt, who were at this point quite old, quite dotty, and very lovable, but really dependent on Diane Keaton, who realized in the movie that she had cancer and was facing the end of her life and trying to make arrangements for the transfer of this care of her father and aunt. Her sister, Meryl Streep, was of a much different type and had lived a very different life and was quite sardonic and jaded about life. She had had her own hardships. She came down to be with her dying sister, and Diane Keaton says to her, I've had such love in my life. And Meryl Streep looks at her and says, yeah, they really loved you, meaning the father and the aunt. They loved you because you sacrificed for them. And Diane Keaton said, no, that's not what I meant. It's I who loved them. And what she meant was the joy of her life had been caring for the father and the aunt. It was natural and unquestioned that she should devote herself to them, and it gave her every joy. It cost her nothing.
Right, and she gained more from that probably than her sisters saw, probably, and gained more than her parents or her father and her aunt. And maybe that was the great lesson of her life, was to learn that, to learn and experience that joy, because that is one of the qualities of the soul, is joy.
To those who give, all is given. Is that from the Bible, or is that from Alice Bailey?
I think so.
One or the other.
Might be from both.
To those who give, all is given. That's the law of service.
That's one of the spiritual laws, in addition to the law of karma and a multitude of others, I guess.
To those who give, all is given. It doesn't cost you anything to give everything. And yet we don't really trust it. We're pretty sure, something's going to be lost.
But the other effect is that it opens the heart center. And that's why that great sense of love flows, and why one can lose oneself in service, because the heart suddenly comes open, and this spontaneous effect opens the floodgates of this great energy of love.
Alice Bailey has a wonderful take on this kind of energy that we're talking about. She says service is the expression of the chain of being that brings spiritual energy from higher levels to lower. She said every human being who reaches the goal of light and wisdom automatically has a field of influence which extends both up and down and reaches inwards to the source of light and outwards into the fields of darkness. When he has thus attained, he will become a conscious center of life-giving force, and without effort, he will stimulate, energize, and vivify to fresh efforts all lives that he contacts, be it a flower or an animal or a person. He will act as a transmitter of light in the darkness. That's service.
I was wondering. I do have one question I'd like to ask, and I mean, you talk about the soul, for example, and it's so confusing to me. I'd like to explore that topic a little bit further. The soul, I always thought of it as a soul individual within us, but the way you describe the soul, we live in the soul, I think.
Yes.
That's what I'm gathering from you. We live in the soul more than the soul living in the individual.
That's right. That's a good way to put it.
We live amongst us. The soul lives amongst us, is that it?
It's present amongst us. It's the unifying factor that unites us all. We are encased in separated personalities and bodies, but in fact on the subjective level of life, we are all sharing freely of our force or energy, whether it's good or bad. We are automatically affecting each other, but the soul is our unity as divine beings.
Okay.
And that's the premise for service.
And one more thing, too. When we feel this strong urge that you're talking about, the strong urge to be of service, does this urge mean that we are communicating with the soul?
Yes, I would think so.
Okay, so that's a criteria for when we know we're in contact then. So for those people who have listened to the previous offer, we'll mention it once again. Take advantage of the special offer from Lucis Publishing, which is the Alice Bailey book, Serving Humanity, a compilation of extract from all 24 books by Alice Bailey, available for $19. Send a check or money order, $19, to Lucis Publishing, 120 Wall Street, New York, New York, 10005. You've been listening to Inner Sight. Now we would like to close with a world prayer called the Great Invocation. It's a call for light and love and goodwill to flow into the world and into our hearts. Let's listen for a moment to these powerful words.
From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May the coming one return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all little human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth.